Alrighty, guys. So I did my initial review of Captain America: Brave New World, and I gave my thoughts, and you can go check out my initial thoughts in that segment, in that episode of the Access Blockbusters Pod. But I think this has been a good exercise for me. I think I did this last with Joker Folie à Deux, where I did a little bit of a post-mortem on the film. Post-mortem is a little bit of a strong word. Just to look back and allowing myself to have a little bit more time. And because of the nature of the podcast, where I can kind of outline the segments however I feel is most beneficial for people who are listening and for myself. I really do like doing these sort of, a week after, just trying to think about, has my opinion changed on the film? And after hearing what other people are talking about and just the general consensus around the film, but also just having more time for me to think about it, have my opinions changed on the film? So we're going to be talking about Captain America: Brave New World again, and this is going to be spoiler filled. So this is not going to be non-spoiler. If you haven't seen Captain America: Brave New World, you are more than welcome. I would encourage you to check out my non-spoiler and spoiler review, where for the majority of it I talk about Captain America: Brave New World in non-spoilery detail. But for now, we're going to be talking about Captain America: Brave New World about a week later in spoilery detail. So you have been warned. So it looks like Captain America: Brave New World has not been received particularly well. On the one hand, critical score is about 50%, and that's not fantastic, although it's not atrocious either. Seems like it's about split 50-50, and, the cinema score, and cinema score is made out of audience members, right? Coming out of the film during opening weekend is the lowest in MCU history at a B-. The other thing to note, though, is that the audience score on Rotten Tomatoes is relatively high. I think in the high 70s last time I checked, so could have gone down. But, on Rotten Tomatoes, and again, these are all unscientific, right? These are all people who wanted to go on Rotten Tomatoes and fill out their, whatever. And there's no way to really verify that they're telling the truth or not, and whatever. So there's a lot of different things going on. But the general consensus seems to be fans are tilting towards liking it a little bit more than the critics, but, it's still not amazing. And the critics are just very much divided, and even the ones who like it, I don't think love the film. And as I was thinking about this more, and as I was listening to other people's reviews and just trying to digest my thoughts on the movie, I think, Captain America: Brave New World is frustrating, right? Because it has the right elements to be a really good film. And if it was, in fact, reshoots that derailed the film, and we don't know where these reshoots came from. We don't know if the reshoots came from the fact that Kevin Feige himself was displeased with the original cut of the film, and maybe the cut of the film that's in theaters right now is what they salvaged. They were able to really get a decent film. I said it's decent, and I still think it's a decent movie, out of whatever the original cut was. Maybe that's what it was. Okay, that's a better result than, releasing something that's really terrible. That is what it is. Or, maybe there's the other narrative of it was test screenings, and audience members thought, oh no, the first cut of this movie is not good. Because what is clear to us is that part of the film was changed, and certain parts of the film were reshot. And I would wager, although no one's confirmed this to anyone, but I would wager that the reshoots were pretty last minute in terms of the fact that they just weren't able to clean up some of the CGI, and, some of the green screen work was not fantastic. So, it is what it is in that regard. But I think, Captain America: Brave New World is frustrating because, yes, it does some decent things. It does things right. For example, it is set firmly in the world of the MCU. Celestial Island. I love that. That's great. Love that they're referencing that. Adamantium. Great. They don't really talk about adamantium or what it is or what it does. It would have been kind of cool to explore, some of the things that Thaddeus Ross talks about towards the beginning of the film, like its applications in medicine and weaponry and stuff like that. That would have been cool, right? But again, I think it's fine. It's for those people who are not familiar with the comic books, because for those of us who know what adamantium really is and what it does, obviously it's setting up X-Men. Obviously it's setting up Wolverine. So I think that makes a lot of sense. But for people who don't know, I think it just makes just as much sense that, oh no, okay, so we've been following the MCU, and vibranium is what a lot of, these different things like Cap's shield and Falcon's suit and Black Panther, all these different materials are made out of. And now this weapon that's even stronger, or a metal that's even stronger. Okay, that makes sense to us. The other thing that I, like I said, I really enjoy, and I still really do think it's done pretty well, is the political nature of the film. The fact that this movie is about signing a treaty, the fracturing nature of relations across the earth. I like how they're, using the character of the President of the United States, Thunderbolt Ross, who I think has a strong arc in the film based on everything that's happened in the past. They reference it of how he was very anti-superhero, and now he's trying to change and become more, softer towards superheroes. He wants the Avengers to come back, and then, things happen with Stearns, and the Stearns, slowly and putting gamma into his blood. Again, that stuff works. That stuff really works here. It's really the reason that this film is frustrating is it's really what's around the edges that don't work as well to me. For example, Giancarlo Esposito as Sidewinder. I love Giancarlo Esposito as much as the next person. I think he is great. In The Boys, he is menacing. He's the one person that can talk to Homelander and get away with it. Talk back to Homelander, I should say. And of course, Mandalorian, Moff Gideon, he's great. And he's been in many other amazing projects. So he's great, as always. What does he do in this movie? And I'm very rarely the kind of person who is like, well, they cast a really good actor in a role that's completely unknown to me. And that's disappointing. I'm not that kind of person because who knows, right? Any character, any actor can make a good character, an obscure character, a memorable character, right? So just because Giancarlo Esposito was not cast as Magneto, and just because he was cast as Sidewinder, maybe before Captain America Brave New World, for all we knew, Sidewinder was going to steal the entire movie and he was going to be amazing. We didn't know that. So I always keep an open mind, right? In that regard. After having seen the film, though, and after having seen exactly what Sidewinder does and who this character is, he's just a guy who has guns and knives, and maybe Serpent, or the Serpent Society, but they're called Serpent in the movie. Maybe Serpent has a bigger role in the future of the MCU. Maybe they're much cooler, or they do a bunch of other stuff. I don't know. Nobody knows, right? Maybe Serpent never shows up again. That feels wasteful. So it's that kind of stuff. And also, he just kind of disappears, and he's like, I'll see you again, Captain America, and I'll fight you again. Will he? Is Captain America 5 going to be called Captain America Serpent Society? That little joke that Kevin Feige made way back in 2015, I want to say, 2014. It was a long time ago. Anyways, I don't know. Who knows, right? The other stuff about the leader in particular. I mean, it's hard for me because I think that what they gave us from the leader was pretty decent, honestly. I liked Tim Blake Nelson. I didn't love him in The Incredible Hulk, to be quite honest with you. I thought he was just kind of weird, and he was supposed to be weird, but he was just a little bit all over the place and erratic, and it just wasn't really working for me. But that's fine. That is what it is, right? But the leader, for example, I think what we got from him was solid. I liked the scene in the lab. I think that stuff worked really well. And then what? He disappears at the end? I've noticed people's comments about, the him going to that admiral's house and then shooting the guy and then, taking his phone or whatever and calling Ross. That came out of nowhere and it didn't lead to anything, right? Like, it's not like Zemo in Civil War, where Zemo was, he went to that former Hydra agent's house and he took the notebook. That has a purpose, right? He needs the notebook. Why did the leader, why did Stearns go to that house? Doesn't make sense. So really, at the end of the day, what's frustrating to me about Captain America Brave New World, which I still maintain, and I haven't seen it again, to be fair, maybe, because I said in my initial review, I was a little bit worried that on a rewatch, this film wasn't going to hold up as much, because part of what I enjoyed the most out of Captain America Brave New World was piecing everything together along with the characters, trying to understand, okay, what's the leader's plan here? Why did he send Sidewinder to Mexico in the beginning of the film, and why didn't he send backup? Why didn't he show up? And then, what's going on with Isaiah Bradley? All that stuff works really well. Isaiah Bradley also, by the way, as a character, was another one of those loose ends that I think could have been so much stronger. The relationship between Sam and Isaiah should have been explored a lot more towards the second half of the movie, because Isaiah basically disappears from the movie for maybe 45 minutes towards the second half. So again, there's a lot there that works, right? And there's a lot there that feels really solid, but there's a lot there that it's just not clicking. It's not coming together in a way that feels cohesive. And that's frustrating because, Captain America Brave New World at the end of the day is a film that is aiming to reestablish the Avengers, although, not the actual Avengers aren't, they're not in the film, but, the concept of the Avengers, they're setting up other things, and obviously Doom at the end of the movie, and it's just not clicking, So I feel like as time goes on, Captain America Brave New World will kind of end up in that Iron Man 2 tier, Iron Man 3 kind of area. Right now, for me in my rankings, it's probably somewhere between those two, maybe a little bit higher than Iron Man 3, to be honest with you, because there is a good movie in there, and I am a sucker for political intrigue in movies and TV shows, right? And so there's enough for me in there to go, what doesn't work is not working, but what is working, and I think the fight on Celestial Island was really good, really solid, but at the end of the day, I just think that this will probably go down, in history and MCU history as just one of those movies that was just too messy. It was just too messy. Now, I want to end this segment, though, by saying I think there is hope, because now we are entering the next era, the reintroduction of the Bob Iger, Kevin Feige era of the MCU. Because I think before, projects like the Marvels, projects like Captain America Brave New World, projects like Echo, were really, really damaged by the Bob Chapek regime at Disney, where the mandate was quantity. Doesn't matter really what the quality is. I mean, figure it out, but your people are going to be overworked, but figure out because we need quantity. And I think now, these next projects, you can tell they're very intentional, right? And maybe, yes, they're an effort to close out the multiverse saga in as fast as humanly possible. Maybe, right? Maybe. But Daredevil Born Again, you have Thunderbolts, you have Ironheart, which I think Ironheart, I should say maybe Ironheart is one of the last vestiges of this whole regime, because Ironheart has just been in development hell for the longest time. So maybe Ironheart is maybe the last one. But you have Thunderbolts, you have Fantastic Four First Steps, you have Doomsday, you have Spider-Man 4, you have Secret Wars. And then you probably have X-Men, right? So I'm very much looking forward to, let's start getting the momentum back. Deadpool and Wolverine was a good start, right? But it wasn't, the be-all, end-all. And I think that we're heading in a better direction. Again, I think if we can build on Captain America Brave New World and say, okay, that movie was not perfect and there were problems with that movie. Thunderbolts looks great. Fantastic Four looks great. Avengers Doomsday looks like it's coming together pretty well. It's in production right now, so I think the lessons that Marvel is trying to learn from all these different things are going to be applied there, and let's just see where we go from there. Because what do you think about Captain America Brave New World now that it's been about a week since the film has come out? Let me know in the comments down below.